In this pod, we'll look at the growing opposition from the German people and sections of the army towards Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party.
From 1933 to 1945, opposition to Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party was present in Germany. However, there isn't an accurate account of the extent of Nazi opposition due to the nature of the Nazi regime. The true extent of opposition is impossible for historians to judge. In this pod, we're only going to look at the widely known individuals and groups who resisted and opposed Hitler.
One of the most famous acts of resistance against Hitler was Operation Valkyrie. This is also known as the July 1944 bomb plot. The aim of the plot was to kill Hitler and seize control of Berlin by using the army. One of the leading members of the German resistance, Klaus von Stauffenberg, planted a bomb in Hitler's headquarters in the east. Upon hearing the bomb detonate, Stauffenberg assumed Hitler had been killed. As planned, he returned to Berlin to take power using the force of the German Home Army.
Unknown to him, Hitler survived and quickly commanded his forces to act. The plotters' actions were slow, and they failed to seize phone lines and radio broadcasts. Joseph Goebbels announced by radio that Hitler was still alive, and the conspirators realized their coup had failed. In response to Operation Valkyrie, over 5,000 individuals were executed. The key members of the plot, including Stauffenberg, were either killed or offered the chance to commit suicide.
Operation Valkyrie was not the only attempt to remove Hitler. In 1943, a year earlier, Baron Henning von Treschow and Major General Helmut Stief tried and failed using bombs that were hidden in brandy bottles. At least 2 individuals were willing to become suicide bombers to eliminate Hitler. Both failed because his movements were unpredictable, and he did not arrive at his scheduled locations either at all or on time.
A small group within the Abwehr, the German Army Counterintelligence Service, also plotted against Hitler. Members of the group included Dietrich Bonhoeffer, his brother Klaus, and his brother-in-law, Hans von Dohnanyi. They contacted the Allied forces during the war and requested their support in overthrowing Hitler. However, the British refused to help them. In 1942, they were accidentally discovered by the Gestapo, the secret state police, during the investigation of another separate case. All were arrested and later sent to concentration camps. Bonhoeffer was hanged following a brief trial on the 9th of April 1944.
There were a number of youth resistance groups created during the Nazi regime. The swing groups consisted of young, middle-class youths who opposed the war and desired more freedom. They went on camping trips where they would listen to banned music and drink alcohol. The Edelweiss Pirates were mainly based in cities and attracted youths from working-class backgrounds. Their actions included graffitiing anti-Nazi slogans, sheltering deserters, and occasionally even beating up members of the Hitler Youth and Nazi officials. Their most violent action was in 1944, when the Cologne Edelweiss Pirates killed the Gestapo chief. 12 members were arrested and publicly hanged for the crime.
The White Rose Group campaigned for people to sabotage the war effort. They also distributed leaflets about the violent actions of the party. In 1943, the leaders, Hans and Sophie Scholl, were caught and executed. None of these smaller groups posed a direct threat to the leadership of the Nazi Party.
Finally, one other form of resistance was the everyday criticism of the party by civilians. This increased during the Second World War as more people became disillusioned. Anti-Nazi jokes were made and shared. With high numbers of informers and spies, some people who retold them were reported to the Gestapo. They could face severe punishment and even execution for their crimes.